Welcome to The Switch, podcasts that are wired to online and offline marketing.
Alrighty, welcome back to The Switch Part 3.
Part 3 already.
We have, geez man, this is a lot of heavy discussion going on in terms of sustainability.
It's a massive topic.
Massive topic, and one which Michael here has lived his whole life fighting for. And we're going to find out a little bit more about your life, Michael. This is your life, Michael. Wayne, take it away.
Well, you know, we had this. We had a brief discussion before we went on air today, and I've been through a series of reflection on, you know, who I am and why I am the way I am. We talk about upbringing and family and who's had a major impact on our lives. I'd be really interested in knowing, as a youngster, was there somebody or something that you've recognised has had an impact on who you are today? And your thinking or your passion for recycling?
Yeah, I think there's several. Yep. But yeah, I've been doing a lot of reflecting myself, and you trace back the whole, like, where did I come from and who are my family and where they come from. And I guess, you know, in the last couple of years I realised that it was my grandfather was probably an early impression there. When I was really young, I was on the farm, Granddad's farm in Gippsland, Victoria.
Yep.
And he was a dairy farmer, but he was just super passionate about his farming and the grass, and he would take us through and show us how he's doing the animals, and they'd come and eat from him and from his hand, and he just had a real passion for that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Had a great balance between, like, the farming, and then there was a forest paddock, and we'd go in there and taught me how to wipe my bum with some eucalypt leaves. And
nice. Always got to learn how to do that. Can you show me?
Sustainable toilet paper right there.
That's a different episode, I think.
Yeah. Well, no, that's an awesome upbringing.
Might not work for 3 million people.
Yeah, that shows a really good balance earlier on early in the piece.
Yeah.
What about as you were growing up into your teens? I mean, I know you love surfing. You're an avid surfer. That connection to the ocean, you obviously clearly got a connection to the land. Did that start shaping and leading you into this direction of where your business is now?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of teachers. We moved around a lot. So when we were young with Dad's work, we literally moved from town to town. Like, I think, can't remember now. We've done so much moving, but yeah, there was stages where I'd move schools every year.
Wow!
So a lot of movement. Which, I mean, got me probably less attached to things to some degree. And yeah, the ocean, where did that begin? I mean, I didn't start surfing until I was in high school. I think we just had so much time outdoors everywhere. We did a lot of time on the beach, like some camping on the beach with Dad, with the family. We actually drove across the Nullarbor because we were originally in Melbourne, in Victoria, and we migrated to Kalgoorlie.
Okay.
And so we went across the Great Australian Bight and we were camping. Dad drove. We flew, actually. That was our first plane flight, but we drove back, had a road trip. So fishing, Great Australian Bight, those South Australian areas, like, it's been very fortunate just to travel around the country at a pretty young age, and I think that really influenced me around recognising how special the environment is. And it was just something about nature, it just speaks to you. So, like, there wasn't necessarily anything profound. It was more just I was around it the whole time.
Being immersed.
A general connection and being around it and understanding it, but also enjoying it. I'm very lucky. A lot of us don't get that, or sometimes we've got it handed to us on a plate and we don't see it.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't realise how lucky I was. Like, you know, I was the eldest, constantly copying it from the top. So it's taken me a while to really appreciate and be grateful for everything that, I have had in my life. It's it's been interesting. But my parents definitely, you know, we talk about trauma a little bit in our family. My immediate family, we're just talking through how the impact of trauma on lives, and people underestimate trauma. How everyone is affected to differing degrees, whether it's direct or whether it's generational. But it hands its way down. And one of the things that I've recently come to realising is how much of a big thing it's been for my dad. He broke the cycle to some degree. He really forged ahead and, you know, got out of Melbourne and went to the West, went into the mining game and just went to the Wild West basically, and broke that cycle and encouraged us into business. You know, and our mum was always a very conscious person. She was a real early crusader against sugar, like way before her time.
Wow, that's cool.
And she ended up getting demoralised, you know, 20 years into that saga, and kind of took a bit of a break from it. But she's come back now. But just that whole thing about how you can be worn out by, you know, if you rail too hard against everyone else, you can wear yourself out.
Yeah.
But, there's a few things there, but yeah.
Awesome.
I love reflecting on this stuff. It's
it's
so underrated. Like
you
know, you spend some time by yourself and just think about things. It's very valuable.
You have so many aha moments as well. You know, you go, oh wow, I didn't even realise that was there, and that's why I feel this way, or that's why I got that passion for this. That's really cool, and thanks for allowing us to be a bit of, you know, a part of that. But your business now, your business has changed a bit just recently, but Total Green Recycling, how did that actually start? You know, like, because everyone knows starting your own business, it's a big step.
It's hard.
It's not easy.
It's hard.
And let's just times that by 100 because of the actual area of expertise that you got into, and you've alluded to that previously.
Actually, it's a really good one. Like, we were just having a real solid belly laugh. We were in Melbourne recently, and my brother found the original business plan that he wrote. Yeah. So James actually is my younger brother. He wrote the business plan, version 1. It was really his idea at the beginning. I was studying business and psychology at the time, and I was very entrepreneurial in my mindset. And so together we basically created this thing. But yeah, it was his idea in the beginning, and it's quite classic. The first line, I'm going to try and remember this. The new CEO basically said, we need to get that framed and put that document on the wall in the boardroom. But it was something along the lines of like, the business will succeed by collecting a continuous supply of unwanted items.
Wow.
So like, you're going to start a business, like, we'll just grab something that no one wants, like free stuff. Yep, we're going to as much free stuff as we can get. Yeah. And
but it's
pretty cool.
But it's pretty much hit it on the head, though. I mean, looking at where you are and what you've achieved so far, that's amazing.
It's really like, we should come back sometime and do a dissection of that business plan.
We should,
because there's literally like, there's just gold nuggets of like the pure spirit of the 20-year-old. Like, James is probably only 18 at the time. View of the world with zero business experience really to speak of, and writing a business plan from just scratch on a pure idea. But now retrospectively, that business has become a national business.
Wow.
And
what year did you write that business plan?
So that was 2008 we officially launched the business, and that probably got written in 2007.
Oh, not too long ago.
No.
I migrated to Australia in 2005.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So 2 years after I had actually arrived in Australia. For me, that doesn't sound like too long ago, but
yeah, it's not a whole lifetime.
No.
It's almost half our lifetime.
Yeah. I'll show my age a bit now.
It feels like a long...
Were you when that came about, were you thinking of like were you thinking of the world? You know, I know a fair bit about you now, and I know your passion and where that sits and how we all need to work together. Did it start off that way, or was it something that you've come to understand and realise that this is bigger than even we thought it was we knew this needed to happen and somebody should be doing it.
That's a good question.
But now you're understanding and you're realizing, holy crap, this is just so massive. We really need to do this. We've started with the right way, but now we realize the scope and the magnitude of what we started out to do.
So I think it's a case of we started with a genuine, like, pure intention of, like, let's do something.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're doing. We don't know how we're doing it.
Yeah.
But we want to do something. So we started with that real passion and drive to do something.
Yeah.
And, we wanted to do something important. We wanted to do something good for the environment, good for people. Like, we kind of got that early. That's a good thing with having all that breadth of experience as young kids. We really had an appreciation, I guess, for doing something important and not being too narrow focused in profit incentive. But obviously profit's a huge motivator. But yeah, the real purpose behind it kind of evolved. Like, once we started from a place of passion, and just by getting busy with collecting everyone's unwanted stuff, one thing leads to another. Yeah. So then by chance, I'm at university in my final year doing finance right before the GFC, and I'm going back to look at considering, do I do a post-grad finance or do I go back to my passion and environmental engineering? And I'm looking at the book prices and
the prices will make the difference.
I'm like, how much is... Am I really going to...
Can I get it second hand?
Spend that much money?
How much is that book?
Where's the free stuff?
eBay.
And,
I love it.
And I chanced upon there was a book there, and it just jumped out on the shelf, and it was just e-trash.
Oh.
And it was literally this book. This lady, Elizabeth Grossman.
Do you think it was something else, but then found out it was actually about e-waste?
I know. It was literally e-waste. Like, I was like, interesting. Like, because at the time we were literally scouring the Vergeside pickup every weekend with the old roadmap book. What are they called again?
Yeah,
what are those books called? Anyway, we would literally get that book out because that was, had that in the car. That was
UBD.
I think I was UBD. I think I was like my 18th birthday present.
UBD
was a
what's
UBD.
that? Oh, the yeah.
Keep it in the side of the door.
Yeah. It was huge.
Where am I going?
Yeah. Wow.
But we would get that out and
blast from the past.
Highlight which roads have we been down, and we found, through the internet, we found
this thing called the internet.
We found that the council would publish its Verge collection program, and it would have like a graph of which section is when. So we had a calendar, like a seasonal calendar, to go and harvest produce, and we would just go work the curbs, filling up my brother's car with
those guys.
You should make a T-shirt out of that. Let's work the curbs.
Work the curbs.
I can see that. Working the curbs.
And so that we were at the time. That's what we were doing. We were pulling apart microwaves with screwdrivers to get the copper out. Wow. And cutting the cables and realizing that that's worth money. And
that's a real blokey thing to do, isn't it?
Oh, cutting cables.
Yeah, cutting cables, tearing things apart.
Yeah.
Anything mechanical.
Tools.
Any ladies involved in that?
Is there?
Well, no, was there at the time?
No, it was just me and my brother. Yeah. Occasionally you'd come across a competitor, like a fellow seagull. It's my street, buddy. We're working from here to there. Move aside. We got weapons.
Absolutely.
And there was professional outfits as well. Like, you'd come across these competitors, and it's like a competition to scoop up the most copper the quickest. And fully unregulated scenario.
They're still doing it now.
But this is an example of circular economy. It's actually like, this is an evolution of like, if you just throw a bunch of food on the ground and just watch what happens. Like, the scavengers come in and they start grabbing what they can, and we were just roadside copper scavengers. So that's what we were doing at the time. I chanced upon that book, and so that was a real inception point then to take that business plan, focus it on electronics, and build a case for it. And that's where we really cranked it up a notch. And
unreal.
As we dove as we pulled that thread, but this book basically, this lady travelled the world, went to all of the factories, and here's some bloody, some goss,
Yeah.
some back in the day, so the early semiconductor manufacturers, that's today still some of the wealthiest companies in the world, basically their factories were so badly designed and run, and they had no consideration for human health and the environment. It was a pure profit motive. They had factories exploiting women, giving birth to children with missing arms and legs and birth defects. Like, there's a long list of this history, and obviously that stuff gets squashed down because that's bad publicity to be associated with, and there's no possible way you can ask for forgiveness when you just lack that foresight in the first place.
Yeah.
You can ask for it, but you're unlikely to really get it.
Yeah.
And so then on top of that, it's all detailed in this book. It's fascinating. I really should bring that book back and give it to someone. But it's it also went through the environmental impact. So that was a human health impact. The environmental impact of these super fund sites, they're called, which is where there's sections in America where the manufacturing plants first existed, where they poured some of the nastiest chemicals known to man straight in the river.
Yep.
And caused absolute environmental catastrophe, human health crisis, and permanently, for like we're talking about hundreds of years, that those sites are contaminated.
Wow.
And so that's the legacy on which the technology revolution today has been built on. So it's a real dodgy foundation in the first place.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
So we uncovered all that, and that. So obviously, if you're reading about that stuff, you realise, well, there's a real important piece here. But what do people want to hear about? People don't want to.
No, yeah.
When we're calling up people, and the early marketing strategy was just grab the yellow pages and start calling businesses. Do you have any computers you want to get rid of?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we do. Who are you guys? And we'll come grab them free. Okay. And then we started charging, and early days is actually interesting. We went to so our first technical client was Eastern Metro Regional Council, so the Red Hill Tip. Hey, you guys have got computer monitors. Like, can we have them? Like, we'll pick them out of your bin.
Yep.
Like, who are you guys? Like, but we managed to talk our way into it. Gave a little presentation. They said, yeah, give it a trial. So we did that. Started collecting them all, taking them to our parents' house. Dad was away in Africa, and we managed to completely overrun our dad's shed, and that filled out under the whole veranda. Lucky no one was living at home at the time. And but ultimately, we were getting out what we could. We were testing them to sell them as working computer monitors, and then the ones that didn't work, we would harvest the copper and the metals and get that recycled at the scrapyard. But then at the end of the day, we were left with all these dodgy bits that didn't work. And we're like, look, we've done our bit. Let's bring them back to the tip. And they're, whoa, no, you can't bring them back.
Oh.
You got to pay tip fees.
Oh,
geez. And we're like, oh, man, we never factored that.
Business 101.
Facepalm moment.
And so that then but that was I guess the end of that cycle, where we then went back to the drawing board and go, well, okay, that's not going to work. So we made we took it to the next level, made a really proper business plan, and then went and pitched the old man and moved to a factory and just it started cranking off from there.
Wow.
Great story.
Incredible.
Great story. What about the future? Like, we've touched on that already, but, obviously with your business now, you've had a merger, you're now a national company. This is probably beyond your wildest dreams from when you first started with that first business plan. And we've touched on, the laws and having laws and policy around this stuff, because everyone needs buy-in, and we want community ownership, and we want individuals to start taking more notice and more responsibility. Where do you see your current business model in the future, and how do you think Australia is going to play a role on the world scene with a business such as yours? Because I'm gathering there's been already lots of interest from other companies all over the world that want to that want to get involved.
Yeah, it's a very, it's a growing industry. It's getting a lot of attention and it's constantly evolving. So the company that acquired us, Scipher Technologies, is initially based in Melbourne. And
Yes, yep.
it was 100% acquisition of Total Green Recycling, which still exists as Total Green Recycling.
Yep.
And for all intents and purposes, everything's the same. The shareholder registry has changed, but we are now, in that process of integrating into one combined business. And so that only happened in May this year. So it's been a bit over 6 months now.
Exciting times.
But looking forward, it's tremendous opportunities ahead. And, we represent probably arguably like a cutting edge player in Australia's market.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
We believe we can, show the world that we can, how we're doing it here. We've got an interesting case in Australia because we're a very geographically spread country, so we face different challenges.
Yeah.
But we're a bit of a laggard in a global sense from a sustainability standpoint, from my perspective, because we're very well-to-do.
Yeah.
Per capita income is very high, and so we've got a long way to really get to the forefront of that. But the beautiful thing is a lot of the answers already exist, and so we've just got to keep doing what we're doing and navigate the future. But a lot of good things. We're opening. We're getting into solar recycling. There's a huge trajectory of solar panels coming off the roof. They reckon by 2030 there's going to be 100,000 tonnes of solar panel waste, which will be more than all the e-waste combined by the current projections.
That's huge.
You've got electric vehicles. You've got a battery revolution. You've got wind turbines.
Batteries, jeez.
Don't get him started on that.
So batteries.
Yeah, and turbines and the blades for those turbines too. There's a huge issue with those as well.
Yep, there's some really cool stuff happening, and it's just such early days, and it's like really exciting place to be. And I'm just really optimistic that when you combine a lot of these trends together, and what I'm really driven by today is to really focus at the community dynamic, because if we can bring people with us, we can really inform decision making, because companies, the biggest companies in the world today, are our clients.
Yep.
And whether they like it or not, they have to use people like us to clean up their products at the end of life. We're doing the best we can, and in order to do a better job, we need to work with the community to influence decision makers to make better decisions, to support the right behaviour. Because currently there's some real insidious criminal activity going on in this country that people don't know about, but we see it on a regular basis. And we're competing with basically waste criminals.
Yep, there you go.
Climate criminals, whether they like it or not, whether they know that they're criminals, maybe they just didn't read the rule book, so they don't regard themselves as a criminal, but technically
they are.
You're in breach of the rules. And there's consequences, but unfortunately in the country there's currently no teeth or task force focused at waste, and so there's constant waste crime. And this is a classic example when you get like a failure, a market failure. A recycler catches fire and burns to the ground and causes a heap of toxic fallout pollution. What is the cost of that? Who picks up the bill? Well, at the end of the day, the government picks it up and the taxpayers pick it up, and they're the ones whose health has been affected. Meanwhile, the people that really should be responsible for that are the ones that produce the products in the first place, who failed to think about what happens at the end of life or didn't put in place adequate enough protections.
Absolutely.
And so that's the gap I'm talking about.
Back to EPR, doesn't it?
And in order to really drive that, we need to get the community fully engaged, educated and empowered to make better decisions. And then we can really influence, because the government is really keen to work with the community and do a good job. And business is listening, because they understand sustainability is not a short-term thing. Circular economy is real, and circular economy offers the prospect of better profit margins.
Yeah,
because you're no longer spending $1,000 to make product X. Your profit margin, you make $300 profit, that gets thrown away. Well, hang on, if you get the materials back, the second version doesn't have to cost $1,000. So you can actually there's a real profit argument to be made that it's more profitable just to think that next cycle through, factor it into your business model, and you'll have a more competitive business in, people, environment, and, people, planet, profit. You can connect the dots now, and circular economy offers the model for that, but it needs to be unpacked and it needs to be disseminated and tested and played with by a complex community of actors that are working together.
So do you see a time where, let's just use the humble computer as the example. Do you see a time where I'm going to buy, as a consumer, a computer, and I can actually see the whole life of that computer and how it's going to be used at the end of its so-called life, and where it's going to be implemented and used, and then know, from an educational point of view, that I'm helping, that I'm doing something that is good for all of us? Do you see that ever happening?
Yeah, it's totally possible.
Yep.
The reality of that happening is it'll happen to a little bit.
Yep.
And hopefully that little bit will grow.
Yeah.
And that little bit can be accelerated. But at the end of the day, there's some fundamental assumptions that still need to be tested and worked out. And, should we be buying as much as we're buying, and why do we?
Absolutely.
You pull the thread on why's Bill Gates got so much money?
Wow.
It's interesting. There's
hey mate, my dad can't get his head around the fact that it costs him more to fix his 20-year-old TV than it is to buy a new one. So, I'm trying to explain that to him. He just doesn't understand it, but he's got a point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, so to really build it out, if we wanted to accelerate change there, we need to bring back the TV repairmen, cottage industries. We need to bring those things back. Currently, we receive work from warranty claims.
Yeah.
Insurance is involved. Products come with warranties. Well, that ultimately, the current incentive structures are such that the items won't be repaired because it's just too much work.
Absolutely.
Not profitable currently. It can be profitable, and to add a bit more optimism in here, the right to repair legislation in Europe is coming to Australia. It's a matter of time. When is it going to come in? But what this means is that if I'm a washing machine manufacturer, I need to provide repair support for that washing machine for 10 years, and I have to stock spare parts in your local community for 10 years, and that's going to give rise to the washing machine repair industry.
Wow.
And there's all these cool cottage industries, and that's why I speak to the complexity is what we're looking for here. We want to build out the cottage industry and avoid the supermarket chain approach to solution making. It needs to be more decentralized and organically developed.
Oh yeah.
I like the idea of the eco police. I felt that sort of brings me back to my school days. And if you sign anyone up,
and we need a bit of
it's going to be me.
That was
a bit of a special forces eco police.
Michael,
they come in on their windsurfers.
Yeah. That was awesome, mate. Thank you so much.
That was brilliant.
Very good insight
for
our listeners.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Brilliant.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.